The Karate Kid franchise was not one that I expected to be as relevant today as it once was back in the 1980s. But with the recent release of the latest film iteration, Karate Kid Legends, and with the recent ending of the 6-season series Cobra Kai, it had me remembering the short-lived animated series simply titled The Karate Kid. Yes, we are talking about a cartoon older than me today. How rare is that? Pretty rare, honestly, but as I have been interested in movies that get turned into cartoons, this one stuck out for just how of its time it was, with how silly and different it was from the movies. While I'll get to more live-action films that were then turned into cartoons later on in this year, I thought that since I had Karate Kid kind of fresh on my brain that it would be kind of fun to talk about today. The Karate Kid animated series is a weird little cartoon that feels hidden away and only remembered by those who tuned into NBC on Saturday mornings at the tail end of the 80s. So maybe my dad or your dad have this faint little memory of it, but today, that all changes as we look into what this odd little series was all about. If you're a big fan of the Karate Kid franchise like me, as well as a big fan of how cheesy Cobra Kai can sometimes get, then I don't know, maybe the Karate Kid animated series is perfect for you. I don't know. Hi, I was off the camera for that one. In 1989, the original Karate Kid trilogy was coming to an end, with The Karate Kid Part 3 hitting theaters that summer. While there is a fourth movie that came out in 1994, that one is the most distanced away from any of the franchise. But back in 1989, Daniel LaRusso's story with his mentor Mr. Miyagi was coming to a close. Or so one would think. But it was only the beginning, as a few months after the third film hit theaters, the Karate Kid animated series would release that would follow the adventures of Mr. Miyagi and his apprentice Daniel LaRusso. This time, there would no longer be any tournaments to worry about, but instead, it would take notes from all of the classic TV cartoons that came before it and were around at the time to become a globe-trotting adventure filled with action, magic, and, you already guessed it, lots of karate. If the 80s can be summed up into just one cartoon, then maybe this Karate Kid series would be that. It's very derivative to many of the other action, world-exploring cartoons of the time. But can the charming nature of the Karate Kid work within a more adventurous, mystical setting? Let's head back to the 80s then and see what happened here. Maybe it's a hidden gem. Or maybe it was hidden for a reason. Let's find out.
Hey, don't stop now! We're getting down! Not gonna take it anymore. Yeah!
Set after what we're supposed to believe is all 3 parts, the animated series now becomes a show where the main characters are treated like 80s action heroes, having to travel to places around the world in order to track down a MacGuffin, which here is a magical shrine that, and get ready for this, has magical abilities. I know, pretty crazy, right? Well, it is crazy within the world of the Karate Kid, but weirder things happen. Who expected Cobra Kai to be filled with over-the-top violent karate action like it did? If there was a problem, a spontaneous karate fight will solve it. If there was a disagreement, a spontaneous karate fight will solve it. If you're inconvenienced in any slight little way, a spontaneous karate fight will solve it. I guess with this animated series, a bit of the same could be said. When this important shrine needs to be kept away from evil, the world will have to rely on Mr. Miyagi and a couple of karate kids to save the day. They then use their karate teachings to handle any of the situations they get in. But how did the world get into the situation of having a Karate Kid animated series? The simple answer is that any major property either full-on would get an animated series, or at least would have one talked about behind the scenes that would never come to fruition. But despite all of that, to dig into it all further, the series came together by series creator Dan DeStefano, and through Deke Enterprises Inc., Saban Entertainment, and Columbia Pictures Television. When the series was in development, the third film in the franchise had not come out yet, and the original plan for the series was a lot larger and more ambitious than what the series would turn into by the time it premiered. You see, while I and many others probably have a lot of love and enjoy what the third Karate Kid film offers, the series was not in the greatest spot when it came to reviews, and the overall popularity of the franchise was definitely at its lowest point, at least until that next Karate Kid movie. While the second film did better financially, the ratings were making it clear that it was not as enjoyable as the first film, and continuing on from that, the third film hit lower reviews as well. So what's everyone who was working on the series to do? They clearly saw a downward trend, and maybe investing in a show that could be this daily syndicated series wasn't going to be the right play at this time. But you know what is the right play? Getting yourself some gamer subs today by using the link in my description or by using my code FRINGE, at checkout for 10% off your order. Look, to be disciplined, you need to have focus and have the right energy inside of you. Gamer subs is how I always stay alert, feeling focused and giving me the strength to do the hard job of sitting down and watching a bunch of TV shows to then talk about them in a YouTube video for the internet. Yeah, that's what I do. You're welcome, society. All you gotta do is pop a scoop of some Gamer Supps into water, shake it up in a shaker cup, and enjoy a nice taste while feeling some solid energy flow through you. And if you won't take it from me, take it from Daniel-san.
Oh wow, this Gamer Supps that I got for 10% off thanks to using code FRINGE at checkout really tastes great.
Head to Gamer Supps through the link below or by using my code FRINGE, to save 10% off your purchase every time you make a purchase. That's right, this ain't no one-time thing. Thank you to everyone who does use my code FRINGE. It directly helps support the channel and I am eternally grateful to you. Now let's get back to the adventures of the Karate Kid animated series. And here's a karate chop. Couldn't do that without Gamer Supps. Originally, the plan for the Karate Kid series was to be a lot longer, planning to be this daily syndicated series that would contain a total of 65 episodes, which is something we would see with a lot of series, whether it be from this time in television history, or with how networks like Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, and Nickelodeon eventually would limit their series in the late 90s and early 2000s. Nowadays, it feels rare to see a show get past 20 to 30 episodes before being canceled or hidden away like it never existed, but I digress. I've already made several other videos recently that cover a lot of those unfortunate examples. And I think while making this video, Disney just did that to another new series of theirs. Jeez. Anyway, this syndication plan is set up so that these programs can target the best after-school time for the kids who would tune in, as they can fill up a few months worth of daily episodes. This, though, would not be the direction they would go with when all said and done. Instead, the series was turned into a Saturday morning cartoon, having the format of tuning in once a week early on Saturday mornings to catch the latest episode. And technically, it would then be able to run for just over 3 months, because the series would be shrunk down from the 65 episode plan to now only being 13 episodes long to make up the first and, well, only season of the series. Before we look into why that was and how everything played out with the series, let's actually look into what the series was about. Like I was saying, the series follows Daniel LaRusso and Mr. Miyagi along with a new character, a girl named Taki, as they travel around the world in search of this magical shrine to try and keep it out of the wrong hands who will use it for evil. So yeah, it's not really like anything you'd see from the Karate Kid films. There is no big karate tournament, we're not on the same level of personal life lessons that Daniel has to learn. The only thing that really makes it Karate Kid related is Daniel LaRusso, Mr. Miyagi, and, you know, a little bit of karate. You kind of get left in a weird place when making an animated series about a pretty grounded film series that focuses on these personal issues, lessons, and drama, with the action coming from the build-up and eventual brawl of the fights. So rather than try to adapt what the films had already done, the series goes completely off in a new direction that feels more in line with what you'd find in 80s cartoons. A group of some sort of heroes that travel around the world to unique and fun locations in search of an important item while dealing with the bad guys who also want the same item. You can take that formula and apply it to anything. There is nothing specifically Karate Kid coded about it. But in saying that, it doesn't mean that it can't work and that there wouldn't be some bit of what the Karate Kid was all about sprinkled in. Of course, we follow the two main characters of the Karate Kid franchise, Daniel and Mr. Miyagi. But here, they are not voiced by Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita, instead by Joey DiDio and Robert Ito, respectively. However, what does build in a deeper and direct connection to the film franchise is the fact that Pat Morita would voice the main narration at the start of the episodes. So it's kind of like with Jackie Chan and his involvement in Jackie Chan Adventures. While he doesn't voice himself in cartoon form throughout the show, he still at least shows up in these live action segments to answer fan questions and make it feel truly connected to him still. Now, thanks to Pat's narration, it kind of makes it feel like he is the main character as we end up hearing about and seeing a lot of the story through his point of view. And yeah, we still follow Daniel and Taki during the episodes, but it kind of feels like these are stories being told by Mr. Miyagi, stories that he remembers and is passing along to you, the viewer. Every episode will take you somewhere new around the world, starting you off in the first episode right in the middle of an adventure in South America, only for the next episode to bring the group here to Hong Kong. Or maybe one episode they need to be in Mexico, only for them in the next episode having to be in the Himalayas. You're going to get a lot of cool adventures, but what makes the series have the true personal touch of Karate Kid in it is thanks to downtime moments that have some heart and life lessons baked into them, and even getting some cool moments that mean a bit more than they seem. Like like having Daniel return back to New Jersey where he used to live before he moved to Los Angeles at the start of the first Karate Kid movie. Stuff like that is interesting and cool, and while it's not super deep or going to explore a bunch of lore that you may want or would at least be somewhat interested in, I still appreciate the little things in here that show me there was still some Karate Kid baked in, and that it didn't get completely tossed aside when making this an adventure series with, magical elements. It's not a big story-heavy series anyway, but the main plot throughout it is to get this magical shrine back to Taki's village in Okinawa, so a simple enough premise to follow. We meet people both good and bad wherever the group travels to each episode, but it will always end the same. Somehow the shrine ends up somewhere in the world, the wrong person with not so great intentions gets a hold of it, the trio of heroes intervene, help out some characters, stop the shrine from being used for evil or bad intentions, some characters then learn lessons or get a new perspective on something, then the shrine is off to another location that our trio then follow, copy, paste, repeat.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. That's what you're gonna find out.
Is it the same route I used to do for you, Papa Tony?
Now, the series only lasted 13 episodes, so maybe they did have plenty more adventures planned for what was going to be 65 episodes long, but we only got what we got from it, ending the series as our heroes literally drive off into the sunset. Not because the story was wrapped up or anything, but because they were following where the shrine was heading off to for the next episode and the next adventure that they are going off on. In a way, it's a nice ending to feel like we've seen enough of these adventures, and we are left with the imagination of these three continuing to go around the world to get the shrine back to where it belongs. While I think this is a fine enough ambiguous ending for the future adventures of these three, there is an episode in the series, episode 8, that really felt like it could have been the proper ending if they wanted to rework a definitive ending for the show. In this episode, literally titled The Return of the Shrine is properly brought back to where it came from in Okinawa. But despite all that happens in this episode that is really exciting and feels like a legit ending to the cartoon, the shrine ends up getting lost and taken away again. So the series must continue on. But after the series did continue on, after 13 episodes in total, it was over, running from September 9th to December 16th, 1989. The Karate Kid franchise at this point was technically over, at least for the parts 1 through 3 setup, and it wasn't held anymore in the highest of stature like the first film is for many. So there wasn't any interest in continuing the cartoon series. It didn't stick out enough to pull in a major audience, fans of the Karate Kid were not tuning in, let alone probably not even aware of its existence, and it was too lost in the sea of other similar shows from around the same time. And for those who did tune in, the series would come off more generic than unique. While I don't think the series is terrible, it's not something that I would consider a must-watch or is worth your time. That goes for people like me as well, who are big fans of the Karate Kid franchise. You're not missing anything by not having seen this series. However, there is still enough fun hidden in here thanks to stuff like having Mr. Miyagi being as cool and kick butt as you'd imagine him to be in these situations. Daniel is Daniel for the most part, just more cartoonized to fit in the role of a lead character who is both still learning from Mr. Miyagi's teachings and also spreading his understanding of it through teaching other characters or having to be the karate muscle when fights must happen. Look, it's short, it's cheesy, and you'd be better spending your time probably watching something else. But at the end of the day, it's a small little cartoon from the 80s that is packed with all of the cartoon 80s tropes you can think of. The action is fine, if not a little stiff thanks to animation limitations of the time and budgetary constraints, but it makes me wonder if the series followed the route of the movies and stayed grounded and focused strictly on karate and interpersonal lessons between Mr. Miyagi and Daniel, or heck, even a new student. No, not that. Get that out of here. Then honestly, I think there could have been a pretty cool cartoon that may have stood out more because it didn't turn into this premise that is way larger than what it's based on. The Karate Kid series isn't about traveling the world to stop the wrong people from using a magical shrine. It's about yourself. It's about discipline. It's about listening. It's about strengthening your mind, body, and soul. These are all things we could have stayed focused on if the series didn't go the way it did. But who knows, maybe one day they'll make a new Karate Kid cartoon and it can be more focused on that, and not so much the 13 adventures we go on in the 1989 cartoon series. I don't know, maybe it just needed a better opening theme song or something to really get people to tune in back then. But hey, if you ever wanted to see Daniel LaRusso and Mr. Miyagi fight a jaguar, then the Karate Kid animated series has you covered. Okay, well, it's actually a man who used magic to turn into a jaguar, but it's still a jaguar. No need to get so technical on me in the comments, jeez. I wonder how much of this realistically could be canon. Like, we know thanks to future Karate Kid movies and the Cobra Kai series what the characters of this franchise are up to now. And as ridiculous as something like Cobra Kai can surely get, there was no magical powers there. And I'm pretty sure Daniel would never stop telling his family about the time that he was shrunk down to about the size of a donut if that were true.
Help!
I mean, yeah, I'd probably never shut up about it either. Anyway, John Hurwitz, one of the creators and people behind Cobra Kai, did say that this cartoon is not canon in the world of the Karate Kid, but there is a bit of an Easter egg in the Cobra Kai series through a special Miyagi-Do shrine seen for a moment in season 3 of the series when in Okinawa that resembles the shrine from the cartoon a bit. So that's pretty cool. Maybe in some sort of headcanon the cartoon actually did happen within the Karate Kid universe, and at some point the trio did return the shrine. Here's another cool fact that I noticed. While the cartoon was originally going to last 65 episodes, Cobra Kai would actually end its run after 65 episodes. What does this mean? It means that this video is over. And also that I want to go see the new Karate Kid movie. But for you, let me know your thoughts on the Karate Kid franchise as a whole. What do you think about the cartoon? How do you feel about Cobra Kai? And in general, which movie is your favorite? And don't even try to say the next Karate Kid. We all know that you're lying. You're not cute. Anyway, tell me all of that and more in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like on this video and to subscribe for more videos like this coming soon. But until then, later.